What is happening, gang? So I am shooting this for a second time. Did this video before I did the sharpening, went over all the specs of this knife and that sort of thing, and I was doing it over my sink. So as my voice was talking, that reverberation came back up and just created a lot of bass for one thing, and it just sounded like it had an echo. So I decided to go ahead and reshoot this. What we got here is a Kubey knife. They sent me this about a month and a half ago, give or take. Asked me to do a review. I explained to them I am not a reviewer, that I am basically a knife sharpener, and that's what my channel's focused on. They told me that's not a problem if I want to go ahead and take a look at it. So I agreed, and they sent this guy on. This is the Master Chief model. I'll have the full name in the title and description. The blade steel is AUS 10. The handles are what they call Damascus G10. I personally think they're hideous, but they do sell these in other colors. If I were going to buy one of these, I would definitely gravitate towards one of those, because this is just ugly. I would want something solid. This is not my cup of tea. This thing is a brick. It weighs 6 ounces. That's almost half a pound, guys. You know when this knife is in your pocket. This is a budget-friendly knife, around $80. And I bring that up because a lot of the guys who kind of shop around for these types of knives think that heavy knives are, I don't know, maybe a sign of quality. I can't explain it, but everybody I showed this knife to at work really liked it because of the weight. So take that for what it's worth. It's a reverse tanto, full flat grind. It's got a nice width here in the height, so they were able to bring this down to a fairly thin geometry after using it at work. The knife continued to cut very well. So, you know, geometry cuts, and this has a good geometry. Can't give you exact specifics because, well, I'm too damn lazy to bring out a set of calipers. This has caged ball bearings, so it is a pretty smooth knife. It does drop freely, but I've been using it at work and it's been in my pocket, so it's got some gunk in there. It's pretty grungy. But when you have it clean and oiled, trust me, it drops very smoothly, very free falling. It's a tip up, reversible deep carry clip. You can flip it from side to side, obviously. Using this for the month of April and March, pulling it in and out of my pocket, this clip became very loose. Now I tightened it before I did the video, so you can't see that now, but trust me, it was pretty bad. Dead nut center on the money. For 80 bucks, you're getting quite a bit of knife here. Again, my biggest issues with it are the weight and the looks. If those two things were addressed, I'd be singing this thing's all kind of praises. Weird thing is, they've actually drilled these liners out, I'm sure you can see that, to save on weight. But it doesn't help. Honestly, with this G10, they ought to just lose the liners altogether. The flipper tab sticks out quite a bit. There is jimping on it. I noticed flipping it and playing, fidgeting, that does start to wear on your finger quite a bit. It's not the most fidget-friendly blade you will ever come across. It does what it needs to do, which is deploy quickly, deploy smoothly. There's jimping on the back portion of the blade, so your hand, of course, locks in as you're using it. It's a budget-friendly Chinese-made knife, two things that really aren't in my wheelhouse. I'm not a fan of Chinese-made products, nor the whole budget knife scene. Would I purchase this knife? No. I would not. I would save another, what is it, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, and I would probably get a Benchmade bug out or a Hogue Deca. Especially with the Hogue Deca coming in Magna Cut, that would be what I would gravitate towards. Like I said, guys, I'm shooting this after the fact. I've already sharpened it, so I know how the steel behaves. It's pretty much just like AUS 8. Real easy to sharpen, takes a wicked keen edge, nothing difficult about it. in use. I also found it dulled about the same as AUS 8, which is to say fairly quickly. However, with the thin geometry being there, it did continue to cut. So if you guys want to stick around, we'll get into the sharpening bit of this and talk a little bit more about it. I am going to be using Naniwa Pro stones tonight. Naniwa is no longer my favorite brand. They have cracking issues on all of their stones above 1000 grit. I've discussed this multiple times ad nauseum. Don't care to get into it again. Like Sharpen, Naniwa Pro are just splash and go stones. You don't need to soak them. Soaking them will destroy them. They've got a magnesia bond that falls apart. So without further ado, I'm gonna cut this edge off and we're gonna get started. Anytime I use this 400, I am amazed. I'm amazed at how coarse it actually is and how great of an edge it leaves. This is probably the only Naniwa stone I would repurchase. The 400 grit. Looking at my scratch pattern, just making sure I'm where I need to be. Looks like I have dropped the angle a little lower than where it was, so it's gonna be a little more acute, which is fine. It's gonna make the knife cut a little better, but I am gonna have to grind through that still to get to the actual apex. So bear with me for a moment. I'm gonna do some heavy grinding here, which this 400 stone is absolutely capable of doing. Looks like this sharpening notch that they've got actually works out for now. I think the further up you get though, the more it's going to go into that taper of the plunge grind, and then you're going to start experiencing problems with the edge, getting a smile, the whole chul nonsense. The flipper tab does want to try to ride against the stone, depending on how you angle the knife. I like to keep a 45-degree angle to the stone. However, if you sharpen straight on like this, that problem probably will never present itself to you. Or if you're on a fixed angle guide, obviously the knife's going to be straight on like this. That flipper tab might going to be a problem. For me though, it is kind of getting in my way. Again, that's not the best design. Wish they had made that a little smaller, or I don't know, done something else with it. I've got a burr going all the way up the knife, and I do see that back edge where the choil is. There is a little bit of a ramp there, but I do have a burr, so I'm not going to sweat it or worry about it for now. I need to pay a little more attention in the tip here. And continue on. already got a burr on this side. So that went super quick. I'll do a few alternating passes just to kind of clean things up. And we shall switch stones. It's 400 grit, like I said. It is deceptively fast because it is 400 grit. You may not realize how quickly it moves. I highly recommend if you use this guy, you constantly stop and check your work, because it will creep up on you and cause problems. Now, also don't get it twisted thinking that it's going to be the best stone to reprofile super wear resistant steels. You may think, wow, this thing works really great on AUS 10, but then you bring out S30V and find out it's actually quite slow. Don't deceive yourself into thinking it's the best stone for all steels. You know, obviously you want to use the correct abrasive for whatever steel you're using. AUS 10, AUS 8, they're pretty simple. So these Naniwa Pros are perfect. This is one I rarely bring out. This is the Naniwa 1K. For setting bevels on razor blades, it's a favorite among many people. I don't like this stone because it's so muddy. You're gonna see what I mean as I get going. This stone likes to develop swarf and make a mess. You'll have that green swarf everywhere if you're not careful. It does its job, it does it well, but like my others, I have noticed micro cracking on it, like that spider web pattern that Naniwa is notorious for. The only thing I have found that will prevent those from spreading or getting worse is to take a diamond lapping plate, like my Atoma, and lap the surface after every single use. Now, some people do that already, just as a matter of habit and keeping their stones flat. I don't. I think it's a waste of abrasive because your stone's not going to remain flat. First time you use it, it's going to get out of shape. So I wait until it needs it, you know, 5 or 6 sharpenings in, then I'll start thinking about flattening it. Just doing it after every single use is a waste. You're going to see a stone that should last you 10 years slowly start to disappear right in front of your eyes. But to keep the cracks at bay on these particular models, that's the only thing I have found that works. That being said, I don't like to use them. They are extremely expensive, and they're just too damn temperamental. Now, I had a burr on the other side. After using this stone, I now feel a burr on this one. I'm going to make a few more passes though, because I see some areas that 400 just didn't quite refine well. I still got usage marks from where I use it at work. So I'm just going to go a little bit longer and kind of polish the edge, get all the scratches from the 1K stone on there. Which stones are harder, Naniwa Pro or Sharpen Pro? I think Sharpen are much more. So this is the Naniwa 3000 grit. Used to be one of my all-time favorite stones right here. I love just how much it polished and how I take those 1K scratches and just make them fade. It's a real nice stone to follow up with. Problem is, as you can tell, it does like to load up. I have found with hard stones, as it builds that load up, you can actually feel it as you run your edge across. It feels like little lumps on the stone, which can cause the tactile feeling to be bumpy, and if you're not paying attention, you can knock your edge out of angle. actually feel the burr where it's flipped over. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this stone. This is just a 1K give or take cleaning stone that Naniwa provides with a few of their products. Otherwise you can just buy it separately. It's pretty cheap. Just a cleaner. Resurface the texture of the stone, clean all the swarf off. Yeah, I guess you could kind of use it to help flatten out high spots, although I would recommend glass and silicon powder or a diamond plate for that. But if you know you got a high spot, just to knock it down, you can definitely use that to wear the stone away. This is going to be the final stone. As you can see, it is a 10,000 grit. This thing polishes like nobody's business. Very, very pretty finish when you're done. But like the others, it does experience micro cracking. And that's a big issue for this guy because of the price. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but this is a $200 or $300 stone right here. And for it to start cracking and wear away, it's just heartbreaking to see. Very, very fine stone. I should hope it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. You don't have to go to an extremely high grit like this to get a knife sharp. You can get a knife sharp on a very, very coarse stone. I just do it for the polish, and I do like how keen they can get when you take them this high. They just flow through material like butter, and for what I do at work, that really helps me out. I do a lot of push cutting. Now this stone is getting quite a bit of load up, but I'm not going to clean it yet. I want to see how well it does without getting the swarf off. If I start to get that buildup where I can feel it as I run the knife across, I may go ahead and take the cleaner to it, but right now, what I'm doing. I'll leave it be. And I may have mentioned this in other videos, but I'll mention it again. As this swarf builds on the stone, it actually helps to polish your blade. You get a burnishing effect. Basically, it's metal on metal here. That burnishing effect actually helps to polish and shine up the bevel. You remove that swarf, and what you're left with is the actual stone abrasive. Well, what's the difference, or what's the problem? Well, the scratch pattern will be like starting over. So what the buildup has helped create as far as the polish goes is gone, and you start getting the deeper scratches again from the stone. That can actually mess your finish up, and then you have to start over. Well, not necessarily start over, but you have to get the buildup again and repolish the blade. I could go either way. At this grip, this rating, I really don't see the benefit of leaving the polish on. The stone is so fine, it's going to leave a good polish regardless. And I can feel I'm running across that stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and clean it. Just takes a moment. And like I said, it's going to kind of be like starting over. Not really starting over, but my scratch pattern and the shininess of the bevel is going to change because of this. I still got a little swarf left from that cleaning stone. I should probably get that completely removed, especially at this 10K level. But I'm going to spend a little more time on this, so whatever scratches or whatever it does to the polish, I think I'll be able to get back out in no time. I think we're going to call it right there, guys. Stropping, Dlt XL leather strop. This is just white compound. I get it from stropbrothers.com. They used to sell it in single bars. Last time I looked, you had to buy the entire set, which would have been black, green, white, red. The green and white are very, very good. The black is a little too coarse for my taste. And the red is just too fine. Maybe for a razor, straight razor, it's fine. But I just find it too coarse for my own uses. I think you guys can see the setup pretty good. Go ahead and test the edge. That is 81. It's 84. 87. So the average came out to 84. AUS 10, like AUS 8, takes pretty wicked keen edge. Sharpening wise, felt about the same. Pretty easy to do. Nothing out of the ordinary. Responded to the stones very well. Took a really nice polish. Although I think AUS 8 polish is a little bit better, a little bit easier. This didn't do too bad. What are my overall thoughts on the knife? Well, if you're in the market for a budget blade and buying from China does not bother you, this knife is it's not a bad option. My biggest complaint is the looks, which they sell different handle colors, so that's not a big deal. And the weight. You know, some guys, especially the guys I work with, they kind of actually like the weight. They think that heavy blade is substantial. I'm the exact opposite. I want something very light, very svelte. One guy in particular said that having a heavy knife lets him know it's still in his pocket. Apparently he's lost several because he didn't realize they had fallen out. I guess there's an argument to be made for that. And being a budget blade, you know, you got to keep these kind of things in mind. Not everybody is a knife guy. Not everybody is going to Blade HQ to purchase their stuff. They're going to gas stations and just picking up whatever's available. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down below. Appreciate you watching.